Namaste, welcome to Courtroom. Today we have with us Meher, Rank 1, NLSAT 2024, a student of our CUT PG plus NLSAT online batch. She was, of course, enrolled elsewhere as well in the mock series, like everyone usually is. And she attempted NLSAT 2023 as well. And now here we are with a rank 1 in 2024. Pure credit to her, pure and full credit to her as to what she did with the exam. This session is going to be about her guiding you, the younger folks, as to how to approach this exam, how to prepare for this exam, and what all did she learn over her journey in 23 and 24. So Meher ji, I'll give the session over to you. I'll keep on asking questions to you in between. We'll start with 23 ke scores and 24 ke scores, both part A, part B. If you compare those, that will really help.
Yeah. So मेरा 23 का स्कोर पार्ट ए में 47.5. उसमें percentile was 89. And part B was 39.75 and percentile I think cumulative बनती है 73.6. So I was not offered admission at that time, obviously. Now this time my score in part A is 61.25. And part B is 47.25 and the total score is 108.5.
Great. So basically we jumped from part A, last wala kitna tha? Something 47 and this year was 61.
Yes.
Right. And part B went from?
Part B went from 39.75 to 47.25.
47.75. So both sections had a tremendous improvement, but primarily it was part A which showed a jump of 20 odd marks, and not 20 but less than that, but around I think 14 odd marks. Right. So last time, so this year they scored the part B very brutally. जिनके बहुत कम नंबर भी आए हैं तो उनकी भी रैंक्स आ रखी हैं इस साल. Usually they used to give a lot many more marks, but then part B is very subjective. Now Meher, let us say, so what was the difference, like for example 23 में भी आपने preparation करी थी है ना, और 24 में भी आपने preparation करी थी, क्या बता, what did you change, what did you learn about the exam, and what will you like to tell, let us say, your younger self who's just decided to take this exam next year कि मेरे को यहाँ से ऐसे LLB करनी है. So what is your advice to your younger self, because that younger self perhaps will be watching this session, and you can be completely brutally honest, no control, no restrictions, go ahead with it.
Right. So first though, it was just volume of preparation. Piछले साल I was working full time while preparing, and this exam does need time and like really well dedicated time. So वो था. I'm not saying that so this time I left my job in October because I knew I definitely wanted to do law, and NLS में नहीं तो कहीं और. So I kind of removed that the job I had. I was lucky to be able to make that choice, but so I needed to dedicate that time. And I think this exam is tough and it needs you to aim for the very, very highest to get a chance to get in. Like there are few seats and it's really competitive. And I think my level of seriousness was very different this time around. And so I'll get into some overall points about the exam specifically. The most important thing that I figured out is that timing is the most important. You can't afford to leave any question in this exam. The highest priority should be to finish. So everybody will have their own way of splitting their time. I figured out my thing early on that I need time for part B. इसलिए मैं 1 घंटे पर I start the paper with part A. At 1 hour, I would do a hard stop. जितना भी हुआ है छोड़ दो and move to part B. And then do the short answers. After I'm finished with the 6 short answers, then come back to part A and complete that, and then go back to finish the essay in the end of part B. So काफी आगे पीछे हुआ है, but this was the way that I basically made sure that I prioritize both sections in the least amount of time possible. Then my second thing would be to really understand the examiner expectations, especially in part B, because this exam is new and it is very different from other exams right now. So the only people who have a real knowledge about what is going to get you marks is the people who are going to be grading this exam. So इस exam के लिए जब registration करते हैं, there is a like people who may be taking it next year, there will be a an information session about 1 month before the exam, and that is the most important 1 hour that you can give for your preparation, because they are actually really clear about what they expect from you and absorb everything you can from that session. I'll get into what I really understood from that when I get into the different parts of the exam, but wo session बहुत important hai. And I also think a second attempt is not a bad idea at all. This was my second attempt, and I was doubtful because obviously confidence down हो जाता है, पहली बार नहीं हुआ. But I think a second attempt gives you insight that other people taking it will not have next year. So if people who didn't get in this year, I know exactly how it feels. It was really heartbreaking, but I would advise ki try again, because chances बढ़ जाते हैं. I genuinely think that.
Hmm.
And the last thing is, do as many mocks as possible. As many, like as many mock series as you can afford. Do that.
Hmm.
That's what I did as well. Apart from TLOI, I did one more mock series. Okay. So those were the overall things that I had in mind. Or now I'll get to the parts of the exam. Part A, which is the objective part. Usme speed and accuracy are both really important. In my first attempt, I was prioritizing speed over accuracy. I was not working hard enough to understand why I was getting the things wrong that I was getting wrong, and how I can fix that going forward. So I think the biggest game changer for me in this part A was so before I took any coaching, there is free LSAT course online. So LSAT is the law exam for the US. वहाँ पर so Khan Academy has a free course online where you can take their exams, and they basically tell you what were the kind of questions you are getting wrong. And मैंने YouTube से ही काफी कुछ सीखा था. There is this method called blind review, which is when you take each exam twice. Like you take the first attempt timed, you mark the things that you were unsure about. Anything that you were not 100% sure about, you circle it, and then you come back before checking the answers, come back and redo it in untimed conditions, so that you really understand each option. Like, why is this option correct in my opinion, and why are all the other ones not correct, 100% not correct? And that would really help build your accuracy and your time. क्योंकि I think before I was just like, okay, ये सही है, ये वाला गलत है, ये सही इसलिए ठीक है. But what you need to understand is why you made the mistake and what are the patterns and the mistakes you make, so that you can eliminate those entirely. I think that was the biggest thing that helped me improve my accuracy in part A. Again, timing, hard stop at 1 hour. मैंने भी ये अभी इस 2024 में 1 hour पे hard stop किया, and then the last passage I'd left almost entirely. After I completed the 6 part B questions, came back to part A. That's when I completed. और उसमें मेरे कुछ गलत भी हुए. My accuracy was well down because I had very little time. But you have to prioritize based on timing. GK, I think this time was good. Like, it was very much legal type of GK. The हमने जो DU LLB के लिए GK की थी, that was pretty much all that was there. So I think that it was way better than last year, which was very random GK. This time it was good. So legal GK is what you need to be doing. Legal current affairs, general current affairs also. So there was stuff about the Israel-Palestine war, and then also some static GK about constitution. So all of this comes in handy if you're preparing for other law exams. So I think that is my main thing for part A. Just really understand what you're getting wrong and why. And GK पर उतना time actually नहीं डालना चाहिए, because you either know it or you don't know it. Don't waste too much time. Just spend most of the time on improving accuracy in the critical reasoning and comprehension parts. I think I can go to part B now. So this was the really challenging one for me. मतलब मुझे पता ही था कि there's something I'm missing here. And for so long, I felt like सबको पता नहीं कुछ secret पता है about this exam जो मुझे नहीं पता है. And I felt like there's something that I'm just not getting. Every attempt, I was not getting as high marks as I would have liked. And I was not understanding what is this missing link. And that's when I think it's really important to get as broad feedback as you can. So I got feedback from you, I got feedback from the other coaching, I got feedback from friends, and also a current NLS student who got in last year when I didn't get in. So I sent her my one of my answers as well, and she gave me feedback that I genuinely feel was totally game changing for me. It changed how I approached everything. I want to name her actually Varenya Singh. She really, she really turned it around for me, because I want to be that person for everybody going forward, be as helpful as I can, because that's so important. Um, basically, I think, and she was very brutal with her feedback, asked for brutal feedback. She told me I was being very confusing in how I was answering. She told me that I was just doing random stuff, and like it wasn't clear what I was trying to say. Structure was bad and everything, she told me, and then really worked to improve those things. So, and now, so like I said, the examiners are actually very clear what they want. So there is no one size fits all, but there is, I think, some level of clarity in what is expected from you. And if you tick those boxes, there is a much higher level of success than, because in my previous attempt, I was just answering kind of on the fly. I didn't have, okay, I have to address this point in every answer. So that was one of the things she said, like you need to have a set list of things that you have to address in each question. And I noticed that in the examiner's information session as well. So they had gone through the whole, like one whole question, and they'd said ki, how they approach answering it. So the first thing they said was ki close reading of the prompt is really important. I'm talking about the short essay, the 6 questions that will be in the beginning of part B. So they said close reading is important. Close reading of the rule that is given in the prompt. Ki, what does this word mean? And how can it mean different things for, like, how can it assist party A's case or party B's case? So really go into what different, मतलब जो हमें सिखाया जाता है ना, कवि क्या कहता है, ये this is actually really important. मतलब I think my being a literature student also has helped, because I loved reading like that, and I think that is important in this exam. Then structure may, one thing I noticed is that they want you to hit at least 3 points. The first is that wait, I'll get to that one later. The first thing I want to address is, so they want you to answer it like a judge. Most of the prompts at the end say, if you were the judge in this case, how would you answer? So in my previous attempt, I used to start by saying, okay, this is my decision. In this case, I would decide in favor of X, and then point 1, point 2, point 3. But that's actually not how a judge approaches a judgment. They always look at the key issues first. What are the arguments that could be made or have been made from each side? And then why is one argument more stronger than the other argument? So that is the crux of this answer. It's not the decision is the least important part. And that should come in the end, in my opinion. That's what Varenya said, and that's also what I got from the examiner, the thing that they did. So I would say never give your opinion in the beginning. Always weigh both sides. And so there's this thing called IRAC method, which I also really got into. ये मतलब foreign वाले law schools में भी काफी करते हैं, and I think NLS में भी करते हैं. It's this way of approaching all legal writing. So I didn't know what it was. So it's the issue, rule, application, conclusion. So I think वो आपने भी, हाँ.
That is what we also eventually followed. So when I took the attempt in 2022 to understand, because they intentionally never release part B. They intentionally never release part B. Why? I'll tell you why. What is the intention behind it? They don't want the coaching academies, even though, like, for example, I'm a teacher of this for this exam. I've been teaching this for the last 3 odd years now, 22, 23, 24 now, and successively for 25. They don't want the rote learning kids, basically the rote learning entire section of the crowd, to be clearing this very easily. Because होता क्या है, so that is why they do not release part B, is कि तुम आओ और वहां पे देखो. And from 22, this examination has evolved. Like part B last year was very tiny. I think this year the length was again, resumed back to a slightly lengther question length. And then वही था, like describe the issue. That is why we kept on evolving our approach. I believe वो जो online batch में mock series, like anyone who's enrolled in the mock series, therein I do not discuss the mocks with them, except if you're in the offline center. Online में mock test, like you said, कि online में mocks were discussed primarily for this reason, for those 1 to 2 hour sessions, 3 hour sessions, कि part A में score boost हो जाए. उसका कारण है, unless you can be practicing as many, let's say from the books, from CAT books, from GMAT books, whatever, till the time that you're told why this option choice is not correct, the score boost does not happen. And that a student needs to know as to मैंने ये गलत करा था, चलो गलत तो हो गया, पहले ही बता दिया जाए. And you are back to perfect with the part B assessment is. So as I told in one of the classes as well, I remember. So there's in CPC, you'll study CPC later in college. Order 20 Rule 4 says, like, how do you write a judgment basically? Describe the issues, give reasoning for each and every issue, whether you accept the contention or not, and then come to the final conclusion. So this was because I remember when you started from mock 1 answers, तो मुझे भी मैंने I think उसमें लिख के दिया था, sorry, this will not work. And
mine was really bad at the beginning.
Yeah, but by mock 5, मतलब we knew that you had a very fair chance. So this is how it is. This is how it is in the exam. And your hard approach of बिल्कुल ये बिल्कुल ठीक बात है. When I took the exam in 22, I observed a lot of students going in part A में like 1.5 घंटा लगा दिया, 2 घंटे लगा दिया. उस time पे part A in 22, then it was just qualifying. The entire crux was part B, and then the interview used to be there. Now it doesn't exist. So based on the changing demands of the paper, one needs to really understand what this beast is all about, because this is a law entrance, I believe, unlike any other. This is a law entrance primarily in which वो कह रहे हैं कि law वो हम पढ़ाएंगे. We'll just assess your aptitude, whether you are fit or whether you'll really do well in this profession later on. And I believe, जिस तरीके से एग्जाम बना हुआ है, whatever it is testing, all the skills that combine it is testing. Actually यही एक वकील की आगे जिंदगी होती है या जज की जिंदगी होती है. It is this much reading, this much writing, and this much application of the judicial mind. Now we
actually मुझे सच में पहले लगा था फर्स्ट अटेम्प्ट के बाद कि मेरा एक्चुअली मे बी एप्टीट्यूड है ही नहीं, क्योंकि आई वाज लाइक कुछ है जो सबको पता है मुझे नहीं पता है. सो आई डोंट वांट टू रिड्यूस इट जस्ट टू एप्टीट्यूड. एक बार जब कोई मतलब क्लियरली बता देना कि ये है, then I think it can be learned also, it can be practiced. Like क्योंकि I genuinely thought कि मेरे से होगा नहीं, कि कुछ है इसमें जो मैं समझ ही नहीं पाऊंगी.
नहीं, ऐसा कुछ नहीं है. यूनिक तो ऐसी कोई चीज नहीं होती. हर चीज का देयर इज वे अराउंड इट. And like for example, it is by God's grace that you're honest with it कि 23 में नहीं निकला, कोई बात नहीं, 24 में निकला और बहुत अच्छे से निकला. Because a lot many souls right now post ऐसा होगा ना, majority like काफी लोगों का नहीं भी निकला and they'll be like feeling lost about it. You can take a second chance provided that you prepare well enough for it and understand the exact requirement of this exam, right? अच्छा, और फिर क्या बोलते हैं, और जो भी आप बताना चाहते हैं, जो भी आप करना चाहते हैं, I just do not wish to like go into this. Part A तो I think part A part B तो आपने सारा कुछ बता ही दिया. I think you've told the exact formula, right? अच्छा,
I think part B में एक और चीज थी. These 3 points that I think everybody should put in their answer, like these. So first is, does the rule given in the prompt even apply to the situation? So that was the first thing that the professor did in their approach. Then second was application of the rule to the facts. इसमें आ जाती है close reading of the rule, close reading of the facts to see कि कैसे apply होगा. And then last was intention of the law. Like even if the rule is applicable and maybe there is a violation, is the intention of the law, has that been violated? Because in 2022 एक example था where some doctor had it was something I don't remember exactly now. हाँ
Basically it was a, I think in 22 का पेपर तो है online. 22 का पेपर
हाँ
part 2 का somehow somebody extracted it. I really do not know where they sourced it from, but 22 का पेपर है. But let us do about medical negligence का case. इनका
हाँ
favorite है, ever favorite है. तो ये वो बिल्कुल आपकी correct assessment है about intention of the law.
yeah
That and लोगों को लगता है like मतलब कि there is a like a you have to take a very black and white position. No, you can take a completely original position as well, provided that you are able to explain it well. The
yeah
marking is not for the final conclusion. No, no, no. The marking is कि ये चल रहा है ये question देख के कि नहीं.
yeah
That is purely NLSAT. अच्छा, और ये मुझे बताइए कि like for example, let us say that if a student asks कि कितने time लगता है कि Meher, how much time does it take? How much time do we need to give for this exam? Let us say next year the exam is in March.
hmm
Then
I
what do
think
I do?
I think 3 to 4 months is
Hmm.
okay.
Hmm.
ये एग्जाम तो प्रीपोन हो गया था, मुझे तो स्ट्रेस हो गया था कि मतलब डू आई हैव इनफ टाइम, बट
Hmm.
I think it was fine. The most of the time I think went for me in trial and error कि ये चल रहा है नहीं चल रहा है, किस में आ रहे हैं मार्क्स. But I think once I figured out what is it
Hmm.
that is fetching me marks,
Hmm.
that's when और ये ट्रायल एंड एरर ना लास्ट नाइट तक चलता रहा. एग्जाम के पहले भी मैंने अपना एक चीज बदल दिया.
Hmm.
So this is the thing that takes time, but I think if you're doing kind of a mock a week, 2 mocks a week, whatever, I think it's doable within 3 to 4 months.
I believe for this exam, now this is my personal opinion, and I'll take your opinion on it as well, that mocks are perhaps, mocks are everything. In
Yeah.
such examinations format, the mock tests are everything.
Yeah.
And the feedback is everything.
Yes.
And the feedback is everything. So because I saw your improvement via mocks, as it
Yeah.
is, वैसे भी मैं किसी स्टूडेंट की कैसे भी assess करूंगा in an online batch की क्या क्या नहीं कर रहे हैं, because उस टाइम तो सब head nod कर देते हैं कि हाँ जी आगे समझ. Primarily the game changes from the mocks. And acha, any specifics, acha, like for example, let us say that I am a student and I ask you right now, right, ki study material, like where do I refer, where do I go for these part A specific questions, right now mock test series वगैरह तो सबकी बाद में शुरू होती. What would you suggest to
So are you
tackle
talking about the critical reasoning वाले?
the critical reasoning portion?
हाँ, उसके लिए I would say LSAT, वो जो खान अकेडमी का LSAT है, उसमें कुछ 15 free mock tests हैं,
Right.
and they give you full explanation for what is right, what is wrong. So
Yeah.
what I did was I made 2 accounts on Khan Academy and attempted each test twice with
Right.
double the time.
Right.
So that is my main thing for
Yeah.
part A.
Yeah. Okay.
That yeah.
What about part B? Before the mock start, mocks में तो अंदर तो होता ही है part वगैरह. Part B
Part
समझ
B,
लिया.
Part B, Meena, I think it was mostly so I made a whole bank of the questions I already had. So questions I had from your mocks, other mocks, and then I put them in Chat GPT.
Right.
Generate more questions like this. So I
Right.
just did every day lots and lots of such questions. So I really, the kind of these 3 points that I'd mentioned, the jurisdiction and application and the intention, at least these 3 became like muscle memory. So मैंने Chat GPT actually काफी use किया है in generating new questions.
That is why we send you like I think when you got enrolled to mock 1 mock 2 of 23 I had sent over. इसी समझ में आ जाए कि यहाँ पर होने क्या वाला है, because you have sample questions along with question papers. Like for example 23 24 के part B, the original questions, I don't think they are in public domain. 22 का somehow someone got hold of it and then क्या बोलते हैं उसकी PDFs वगैरह थी. 23 24 के part B कहीं नहीं मिलेंगे. So as a student who's watching this, if you are like hunting for part B questions, usually they are not in the public domain. Exceptions aside, कोई कल से कोई निकलवा ला है तो God only knows. और किसी को याद भी नहीं रहते. Like post time exam momentum में तो ठीक थोड़ा बहुत main topic याद रह जाता है. Now the length of the question, like this year the feedback was given to me कि 24 वाले जो questions हैं, they were remarkably longer than the 23 वाले questions.
Yeah, that's
like
true.
you've taken both the exams, so you must be knowing it better. I didn't sit for these exams. तो अब याद नहीं रहते. तो उसका बस एक ही इलाज है. At the end of the day, 15 से 20 mock.
Yes.
I believe, that gets you through. पार्ट बी हमने
Yeah.
पूरा डिस्कस कर लिया, पार्ट ए. एंड व्हाट अबाउट द एसे,
So,
the analytical essay?
हाँ,
That's their main topic. What about that?
yeah.
What would you suggest to a student?
उसमें मैं काफी डगमगाई थी एक्चुअली बिकॉज until the very end I was not sure what is it that I'm missing there.
Right.
I remember आपने जो I think the night before या the night before that एक last live किया था, and
Hmm.
उसमें it showed the people who were really scoring well in the analytical essays.
Yeah.
And I was like, यार मेरा तो इसमें है ही नहीं, मेरा कैसे होगा, हो ही नहीं सकता, these people are writing really good essays. And I was like, what is it? And I realized that I was overcomplicating it. I
Hmm.
was massively complicating it, and I was rambling a bit in the essay, and there was a lack of structure.
Hmm.
तो आपने जो एग्जाम्पल हमें दिखाया था उसमें काफी सिंपल स्ट्रक्चर था.
Hmm.
आई वुड थिंक कि ज्यादा ही सिंपल है कि कॉलेज लेवल एग्जाम में तो ये ज्यादा ही सिंपल है, लेकिन 10 मिनट में दैट इज व्हाट यू शुड डू एंड डू इट परफेक्टली.
Hmm.
So that's I'd actually not written a single mock with that essay format. So
Hmm.
what I did was I did an introduction that characterized the question, defined the terms, challenged the definitions of the terms, and gave my take on whatever the issue is.
Hmm.
So that was my intro. Then arguments from my side, my take. उसमें मैंने subtitle डाल दिया ऊपर, case for meritocracy, no, case against meritocracy, and then I just did a simple case, counter arguments for the other side, या ऐसा कुछ. So
Hmm.
very simple. And मुझे तो थोड़ा लग रहा था ये subtitles थोड़े dumb लग रहे हैं, like it's really obvious subtitle.
Yeah.
But I had no time. I was really rushing. So
Hmm.
I just did that really simple 2 sections. So intro, 2 body paragraphs, and 1 conclusion, basically reiterating my stance.
Hmm.
So I kept it really, really simple in the end.
Did you attend all the last lives? जो last हमने जो live जो करे थे, last वाले जो part B, जो answers, जो I was displaying mock series में बाकी लोग क्या कौन क्या लिख रहा है.
हाँ.
भी दूसरे स्टूडेंट, लाइक इफ समवन्स लाइक डूइंग बेटर देन एनीवन एल्स, मतलब अगर स्ट्रक्चर कोई पसंद आ रहा है तो उसी से, लाइक फॉर एग्जांपल आई आल्सो लर्नड फ्रॉम अ लॉट ऑफ द स्टूडेंट्स, लाइक but they were not in our coaching. I'll be fully honest, but they were getting so beautiful answers that I had to show कि ऐसे भी हो सकता है, and then you as a teacher also end up learning from them.
Yeah.
And then once a student's thing is shown to like another student,
Yes.
it really boosts up the confidence. यार ये ऐसे कर रहा है तो मैं भी कर सकता हूँ. And I believe the student community is perhaps pivotal. So I can be perhaps a guiding force etc, but eventually student की ही सुनता है. And जो वहां से जो feedback आता है, क्योंकि उसके पीछे होता क्या है कि it is a lot more authentic and like to the ground, and वो actual चीज है, तो वहाँ पे मतलब मुझे लगता है कि बहुत ज्यादा बेनिफिट हो जाता है. सो आई थिंक आइडियली स्पीकिंग 4 महीने लेके चलें एग्जाम में. Part A, stop at 1 hour. Part B का formula you have already told. And part C says keep them simple. No need to overcomplicate them. It will work. And that's pretty much the exam.
Yeah.
And
I think the main thing is that be a sponge as much as possible. जहाँ से भी कोई भी कुछ feedback दे रहा है, कोई भी कुछ भी बोल रहा है ना, absorb it with like, क्योंकि I took inspiration from everywhere.
Yeah.
Like who is doing better than me? How can I implement what they are doing? And all of that. Like just I think ask for help. I would love to be the person who helps the people who are taking it again next year.
Right.
Not taking for the first time next year. That I just last time मैंने थोड़ा ना isolation में ही किया था कि अच्छा ठीक है, I didn't know कि where I am on the how far I am from the goal. Just ask for help as much as.
At the end of the day, the community really helps out. Like for example, in the offline classroom, जब यहाँ पे जब भी होता है, like August में होगा शुरू, those that community जो बनती है ना, of those like 15, 20, 25 odd people, वो जो एक दूसरे की जो मदद कर देते हैं, उसी अपने आप ऑटोमेटिकली इवेंचुअली जाकर रिजल्ट प्रोड्यूस आउट हो जाता है. एंड दैट, लेकिन इसके अंदर लाइक आई जस्ट वांट टू ऐड वन मोर थिंग. Like for example, Meher said that you be a sponge, and वही है, this is the quality that only a student has. You know, many people say कि कौन सी कोचिंग कर लें, वो this you as a student need to be open to everything. This is like your intrinsic quality. So people like पूरा का पूरा दामोदर कि भाई यहाँ से ये कर लिया बस इसी के ऊपर है सब कुछ, जो होगा सो देख लेंगे. नहीं 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 ऐसे, like if you have to produce results in these examinations, you have to have this exact approach that she said कि be open to learning from as many sources. और किसी का कोई नहीं, सब ईश्वर की ऊर्जा है, हर जगह जो आ रहा है ठीक है जी, सारे के सारा जी एक्सेप्टेबल है, नो नो डिस्क्रिमिनेशन. और जो जो मदद कर रहा है कि हाँ भाई ये पॉइंट ये अच्छा है, उसी से हम सीख सकते हैं. Like for example, I learned part B ka a far better structure from one of my students who's not even like in the batch, as I told you earlier as well. So I believe, you know, those were the best answers. और उन्हीं के answers के आधार पे I changed the structure of part B eventually. So this as to a student, like be open to learning, चाहे जैसे मर्जी जहां से मर्जी. हाँ, of course it has to be now that you need to filter out, पता चले उल्टी सीधी चीज सीख ली. नहीं जो आप, and your gut will always tell you.
Yeah.
Gut will always tell you कि what is correct, कि ये ठीक बोल रहा है या नहीं.
और एग्जामिनर ने जो कहा है उसको use that as a check. मतलब इससे align होता है, then it's fine.
And as I always say in the classes as well, that webinar, because see, NLS as a university, as an institute, is quite open. So they usually tell everything in that. वो जो एक महीने से पहले जो होता है ना, वो बता देंगे आपको सब कुछ. Because they are not afraid कि अच्छा इसको पहले पता चल जाए. नहीं, वो आप कर ही नहीं सकते इस पेपर में. वो आप कर ही नहीं सकते. वो इसीलिए तो पार्ट बी का क्वेश्चन पेपर नहीं रिलीज करते कि आना जरा, आओ बैठो, और जो उस टाइम पे जो आप हो वो निकल के आ जाएगा पेपर के अंदर. And then eventually last year, so they never really gave the ranks. Last year they never gave the ranks. This year I think they resumed the system based on the feedback they must have. ठीक है जी, we conclude the session here, I believe, because then it will become too long now. Acha, I'll just end the recording, and if anyone has any like, you know, any questions to ask Meher, you can you can leave a comment, you can reach out to her, perhaps, you know,
on LinkedIn or something like that. I'll share. Yeah.
LinkedIn, but you can reach out.
Yeah.
I'll just end the recording. Wishing you folks all the best for NLSAT. Bye.